Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Bobble Pod. On this episode, I'm going to be talking about the challenges of running a digital agency in 2023. It's come about from me attending some events, but I'll get back into that. I'm going to talk about my top three things that I see as challenges. So it'd be good to get people's feedback. But as always, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. And if you're on YouTube, hello YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Click on the bell notification when our episodes come out every Tuesday. So the challenges of running a digital agency in 2023. I was at an all leads event last week from when we were recording this, held by Force 24. And I was on a panel discussion right at the end. So I did a talk about SEO, and then right at the end, I was on a panel discussing answering questions from the audience. And one of the questions that came to all of us was, what is the biggest challenge I faced today? At the time, I kind of said, my response was all the bullshit that's online. In the sense that there's so much content and video content out there, people at home creating little videos and little snippets and, blogs from random websites that someone will say something, a freelancer who's probably only got like 2 years of actual practical experience working in industry and then gone out himself, claims to be a guru in digital marketing. And there's nothing wrong with that. You will have your sets of clients and you will have your level of expertise, but then they'll be the ones going out saying, do this, do that, or you shouldn't be doing this, you should be doing that. But it's very broad. Where's the context around understanding what the client's aims and objectives are as a business, what their aims and objectives are from a marketing perspective, and implementing that in line with what their budgets are, what the challenges are in terms of internal tech. We have clients that, integrated with Salesforce, some clients integrated with HubSpot, some clients that don't have any of these systems in place from lead generation. So it's all good going out. And then what we have, I said, the challenges is like they hear all this BS online and then they come running saying, why aren't we doing this? Why aren't we doing that? And want to kind of start dictating the market strategy. Well, no, we created a strategy. You agreed on the strategy. The results show the strategy is working. Yet all this noise online, it does cause a problem. It is a challenge because, this is why we do the podcast. This is why we do our bite-sized events. This is why we do regular blog posts on our website so clients can stay up to date with what we're talking about, what we're doing, what's happening. You have to keep your clients informed and educated. So that's where this episode kind of came back. And it made me rethink. I was like, was that my biggest challenge when I really now think about it? It's only after you give a response. It's like when you do an exam and afterwards you go through all the questions in your head and you think, actually, was that the best way to put that response? But, the ink is dry. It's set. What was said was said. It got a good laugh from it. People kind of understood it and some people resonated with it. However, when I rethink about it, I came up with like 3 key challenges that actually impact me as running an agency. Like, what are the challenges I face right now in 2023? Because a lot's changed in the last few years from where we were as an agency pre-lockdown to what we were doing post-lockdown to a booming year of 2021 when there was a lot of spend and everybody was getting back to spending high, to 2022, which was almost like a flatliner year, which has led into 2023 being a kind of like a flatliner year. Then hopefully we start seeing some growth in 2024. It really depends on clients. And the biggest challenge, the first one, is clients' expectations versus reality. In the sense that no one can guarantee results. Any agency that out there that a client goes to says, we guarantee X amount. You can do forecasts and projections. There's nothing wrong with doing forecasts and projections. We worked with a client. They gave us their data. We looked at the last 12 months. We looked at what we would, with the changes we would make, what we would expect to see with the tools and the platforms that we have in terms of protecting it from ad fraud, which would get more genuine clicks. So that would mean more money saved in the account, which means more conversions coming through. So we set through some projections, but the projections aren't what we expect to achieve. It's what we would like to achieve. It's our best guess. Nothing more. Our best guess. It's using the data we have against historical data, what's achieving now, but a lot of things can change that. Google as a platform or Meta as a platform can change that if the bids get higher and then the cost per clicks go high. The customers, the end user changes it. Demand. there has to be demand for the product. The search volume is for a particular search term against conversions coming through. Economical stuff. We're in a cost of living crisis. Businesses cutting down on expenditures. So a lot of things that are not in our control. All we can do is control the optimizations in the platform, follow our set of rules and guidelines, our ways of doing things, which is what our USP is, and deliver that. However, clients want instant results quick and fast, and they want to see an actual number. They want to know X. If I'm going to invest X, I want if you give me a number, I expect you to hit that number at the very least. However, what you do show as a digital marketer is right, you spent this last month and returned this, and this was your ROI, this was your ROAS, figures, etc. We can project based on similar figures, based on similar conversion rate, cost per lead, cost per acquisitions, what to achieve next month. But that doesn't mean that's going to be accurate. Bidding fluctuations, loads of things come into it. So you can't guarantee results. You can only go based on what the data allows you to do. So the biggest challenge is setting expectations versus reality with clients, especially clients that aren't as educated and understand, and I did a podcast about this, brand versus performance. You can't just expect performance to come through if you don't build your brand out and compete with the other competitors and get your name out there in other forms and in other channels. Don't just expect to squeeze the life out of one channel. Eventually, that's going to have a long-term negative effect. There was actually a talk about this with one of the speakers at All Leads, where he talked about focus on the long term, not the short term. Those that focus on the short term with their brand and expect instant results, you're essentially going to see a graph that comes in that basically you flatline, you see no growth. You're going to have peaks and you're going to drop it. You're going to have peaks and you're going to have drops, and you're going to have peaks and you're going to have drops. But over time, it's going to stay flat, horizontal. And then no wonder, clients or potential businesses out there say, oh, agency didn't deliver on elements. You want instant results quick, but you don't focus on the longer term. Now, the way it should be realistic, and the way he showed is like, the reality isn't flat, it actually declines. So actually what happens is a peak, you drop, but over time, the drops get lower, 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 which means your brand over time takes a hit. Whereas if you focus on the brand on the long term, which I understand is difficult in the current economical environment, what you see is the opposite. You see more of a wave going up. You'll see, it's almost like, targets. It's like you'll see it go up, drop down. But over time, as you'll see those peaks, instead of it going downwards, because you focus on your brand as well, you'll see the loyalty of customers. You'll see the referrals coming in from their friends, families who are buying the same products, or other business contacts, if it's B2B, come through. So expectations versus reality, that is the biggest challenge. And that's why we have the podcast. That's why we educate. That's why we do training sessions for our clients to help educate along the way why they've got to do it and why sometimes things drop off, and why some things do happen and don't happen. The second one is, I would say, recruitment. We're going to snippet what I'm going to say now. We're going to put on LinkedIn, and I guarantee you, a lot of MDs, a lot of CEOs, a lot of HR managers are going to agree with me, but a certain generation is not going to agree with me. They might come at me and hate me, and I honestly don't care because it's the truth. The problem with recruitment right now is the next generation is, first of all, there's a skills gap in our industry. So that's a challenge. That's the challenge in recruitment, skills gap. We're now doing a lot more grad schemes where we're having to bring people in and train them up ourselves over the first 12 months, and then they go up a ladder of a clear career growth, path with no limit, no boundaries, etc. But there's a skills gap, and anybody who's moving from anywhere wants a level of entitlement that just isn't there. We had a CV come through, and it was a paid media exec. So I'm going to give an example of like the hierarchy in terms of in paid media. So you have a paid media assistant, then you have a paid media exec, then you'd have a senior paid media exec, then you'd have a paid media manager, then you'd have a senior paid media manager, and then you'd have like a head of paid media director, or paid media specialist, whatever that role goes into. But once you've got to the top of like head of, you've had at least 7-8 years of good quality experience in the industry, understanding Google, seeing it change over time before you get that. So we had a CV come through for a paid media exec and sent over the job spec and 37.5 hours, competitive salary, made it very, very clear. We offer flexible working, but it's dependable of experience. The juniors don't get to work at home as much because they need to be in office with the seniors, learning how face to face, understanding work ethic, how to analyze that, and then they're available to ask questions. You can't ask questions over Teams to a CEO and expect him to get back to you straight away. That's never going to happen. What's going to happen is if I'm in the room, if I'm busy or not busy. I mean, I'm always busy, but then, you can ask me a question and I can stop what I'm doing and I can assist you with that problem unless I'm on a call. Whereas in a Teams conversation, I will get to it. I'll leave it as unread until I get to the point of where I check my Teams after I check my emails, etc. But that's why we offer flexible working. But going back to the potential candidate was like straight away, only wants to be in the office. So when we got feedback saying, yeah, we're happy to interview him, CV looks good, only wants to be in the office 2 days a week maximum, only wants to work 35 hours, even though the contract is 37.5 hours, so only wants to do 9 till 5, not 9 till half 5. And straight away, that was a red flag. So you want to do 35-hour contracts. I keep saying to everyone, even grads that come in, this isn't a 9 to 5 job. If you want to get ahead in terms of your self-development, and earn more money quickly, you have to, like at university, you get the bare minimums from the lecturer, you get the theory, you get the elements, we'll teach you how the elements, but it's up to you to actually put that into practice under our guidance, but then do your own self-development. 9 to 5 doesn't mean we want to see you in the office till 7 p.m. working. No. What I would like to see is you evidence that you are developing your skills within Google, within paid social, coming up with blogs saying, look, I've tried this tactic, I'm testing these things, etc., which are new. I've just read this. That's staying at the forefront of your industry. That shows me you want a career in that industry. That shows me that you're all about willing to learn and adapt. Because in our industry, it's all about adapting. Something new is always going to come through. Google is going to change its algorithm. Google is going to change its platform. Google is going to introduce new services and like performance max campaign from smart shopping campaign from shopping campaign. Look at the evolution, and that's only happening in a few years. So you've got to stay at the forefront. You've always got to learn. I'm always learning. So I go out and spend so much time learning, but they're just not willing to learn. Their viewpoint and your generation's viewpoint is, if you pay me more, then I'll go out and learn it. Or send, not like something you'd go on a training course for. It's like, I will do all this work extra to showcase my development, but you got to pay me for it first because that's going to take more time from my time. It's a stat was given to me by someone who works in Elements, is like the UK has the most disengaged level of staff across any other country in the world right now. And a lot of them are not quitting or leaving because of the elements that potential recession still coming, looming over everyone's head, fixed income, secure, everything secured. And this next generation care more about their coffees and taking a picture of Starbucks on the way into work and having that flexible like lifestyle, which is fine, but earn it. Earn it. You're not willing to earn it. The reason I'm a CEO and I usually the first in, I'm in the last out. I get it. It's my business. I put my money into it. But I've earned it. When I was at Cara, I remember in the first 3 months, I was there till 9 doing reports. And I was only on like 14.5 grand as a grad. This was years ago, obviously, different rates now. And I remember that if I wanted to get onto pitches and help win pitches and get elements, the ethos was like, I've got to showcase my work ethic in terms of what I'm doing above and beyond. I had to show that I'd learned and upskilled myself within Google Ads or paid social for me to say, look, now I'm at this level, so I'm now earning this amount. And the same when I was into marketing, I'd go out, I'd win all these clients, I'd showcase that I'm able to understand a pitch, do the strategy, implement it, win that client, and then keep that client and deliver on what I said I'm going to do. I was bringing in new revenue streams for the company. We brought reporting in-house. Josh, you worked at into marketing. You remember me. I was always working, never stopped. But I was bringing in new elements to the point where like, actually, Manny, you now support the London office. Manny, you now also support it. But as my responsibilities went up, of course, I demanded a higher wage. Because I said, no, I've upskilled myself. I always say, you know, you want to make yourself in a workplace so valuable that it becomes difficult to replace you. Because if not, and I guarantee you, people will. I was just talking about this with another business owner. I take him home to an appointment for a medical, and this guy was the owner of the medical, and he was like, and this is his comments, not mine. And he goes, he won't hire anyone under the age of 40 or 30 because he feels like that generation just doesn't understand work ethic. He just won't entertain it. And I was like, wow. And I was like, are these the problems? And I just started sharing some elements in terms of this generation, in terms of like literally doing the bare minimum, but wanting all the money in the world and all the flexibility. It doesn't matter as a company what I've realized in terms of the benefits you offer. We offer flexible working. We give flexibility with physical, like personal appointments and elements. This week alone, someone's messaged me, can I be at home tomorrow? So I'll just get my head down. Yeah, sure. Why not? So you can offer all the flexibility, work benefits, wage increases every 6 months based on performance, streamline, key tasks. So there's less actual, written tasks. So you can get on with actually doing the work. So it's less like repeated tasks, bringing in AI to do a lot more analysis. You're streamlining the work. The work is less difficult in terms of actually having to do written write-ups for reports at the end of the month and doing all this kind of physical work. They're spending more time in the accounts and doing optimizations and analysis and coming up with idea generation. So it's less admin-based work, more streamlined, better benefits, free healthcare, the full healthcare, I mean private healthcare, as well as like a healthcare plan, extra days holiday, time off, etc. You can give it all, but it will still never be enough. That's what I've realized. So we've taken a different approach at Bobble Digital, whether, staff have all been made aware of it in terms of how we're bringing in a bit more company structure to key things like this relaxed environment that everybody wants. Just realized that it wasn't really working at senior level in terms of results of what we're seeing, because it led to slacks of key things and elements being done. So you can offer the world, but they still won't be happy. But that's the thing, you have to offer the world and all the perks just to get them elements to come in. So an exec who is only the second tier in that paid media role is already making significant level demands. And I was like, no, I don't want you here then. If that's how if you're already showing me that you're only willing to come into the office twice a week max, and you're only willing to do less hours than everybody else, that's not the level of attitude that I want to work. I want. So I instantly went back to Recruit saying, sorry, but that attitude stinks. That if he's saying that it has to be that and there's no negotiation for it, then tell him we would never consider him as a candidate at Bobble Digital, because it's a work hard, play hard. You get the financial reward for the output of work you do. You don't get the financial reward without doing the work. You don't get your degree without actually putting in the work to do the degree. See what I mean? You're not going to get a first without putting the time and effort to get a first class degree. If you put the time and effort and you end up with a second class degree or a pass, that's because you didn't do enough. And don't then be entitled saying, well, why didn't I get a first? And that's what's wrong with that generation. They want the first, they want all these elements. But my honest opinion is you're just not willing to put the time and work in to develop yourselves. I don't know what's gone wrong. And I'm not the only one. I will put this out on LinkedIn, and I guarantee you a lot of MDs you got to realize most of the companies are small companies like us in the UK. Not everybody is your social chain, Stephen Bartlett. Not everybody is the size of Twitter or Google, where they have thousands and thousands of employees. And look at Google. They've got rid of like 10 to 15,000 employees because they streamlined their services. So the bigger companies will look to reduce their number of employees. And we're trying to increase our number of employees and provide more opportunities, but the generation's not helping themselves. Seems a bit more of a rant, but I'm going to highlight Stephen Bartlett put a TikTok video out. I mentioned this, I think, a year ago in a previous podcast. He put it out and he talked about that, the problem with the next generation. And he said this on his TikTok, and he put a video snippet out. I was like, they care more about the cupcake and the video talk than actually working and putting the time in. Within a week, he took that post down. Within a week. That's factual. I saw the post. My biggest regret is that I never saved the video, because I even commented on it saying, finally, I agree with the one thing that you've said, as you know, someone seen as an influencer in this industry. But he took it down probably because all that generation attacked him, saying, oh, no, that's not true. Not everyone's like that. But the fact of the matter is, our generation is getting annoyed with the next generation, because we're like, you're just not willing to work. So don't complain when you don't get your wage increases. Don't complain when you're not developing. And then don't blame the company that you're not developing, because you're not willing to show that you want to develop or want to invest in your career. It's as simple as that. That's two. The final one, and I think two, I went on a bit too much, but we'll cut some stuff out, won't we, Callum? We'll cut some stuff out. But the final one is the final challenge. I think the biggest challenge we face is, I think it's the economical impact that's happening right now in 2023. 2022 was a difficult year with COVID. 2021 was a great year in terms of growth. 2020, like I said, was a flatline year. But I think economically, and it's kind of comes back down to government policies and stuff. A lot of businesses are cutting back on their financial decision making in key industries because of their cost of living crisis and the economical impact it's having on businesses. There's more financial burden on businesses, and it makes it difficult. I don't blame them. And we're in an industry where you have to invest money to make money, and you have to invest in your marketing to make return. Without what I mentioned at the start, guaranteed results. And that makes it difficult for an SME. If an SME is going to invest 100 grand a year into ad spend and agency fees, they want to know that's going to return back, 3, 4, 500,000 pound in the year in terms of business. If it doesn't, then they're not going to do it. And a lot of marketing directors and companies are now taking their time. So another challenge we're facing is that level of education and having to showcase more stat-based results in terms of how we're going to monitor it, which we do anyway, in terms of educating that, it's not just the results, it's the incremental values of increasing your brand, all these other wider elements, etc. So that's a challenge that we face as an industry as a whole. But it's up to us as an industry to kind of showcase and have like a set, a set model to go to clients to say, look, we understand that it's difficult to invest this, but you don't invest it, you invest it over 12 months, not over 1 month. Give that agency time to showcase the results, to showcase the strategies working. But then maybe like what we do is we only require 6 months minimum with our clients. After that, it's a rolling contract, because we say, give us 6 months to prove that our strategy is working. At least that way, in that 6 months, we'll know, we'll have the data that it's working, the revenue's coming in, the leads are coming in, the sales are happening, the return on investment's coming through, the average order value is increasing, whatever the metric is, it's happening. So it's the economical is probably the final change, is elements, but it's up to us then as an agency, our USPs, how we work to differentiate ourselves against every other agency out there, to showcase that actually what we're doing is working and we can evidence it. And I guess that is going to be more in the next couple of years. A key element is evidencing key growth, return on investments directly in the accounts. So, and especially when accounts like Google becoming a lot more automated, how do you showcase the value, what's going into Google ads? So, and what you're doing and the return on investment someone's getting, because essentially what you're paying for as an agency's expertise, solutions, processes, and time. It's service based. So, but it's not just us. Other service based companies will be facing the same challenges. So, a little bit from me. It was good to give some feedback. Anyone else running an agency or running a company, let me know if you agree with those challenges. Specifically, the second one with the recruitment one. I know I talked a lot about that, probably about 10 minutes. I was meant to talk about 5 minutes in each one, but it kind of gives you, I think that is, and I think most businesses right now are struggling with recruitment. There's a skills gap in the industry, but also you can't really depend and look at the next generation, because they don't understand work ethic or initiative. They want to be spoon fed. And unfortunately, in an industry where we needed to be analytical, we need to think on your feet and think outside of the box. So it just becomes more difficult, which means we're always looking for that needle in the haystack when recruiting, which becomes a lot more difficult, which is why we've changed our model to actually let's look at the core skills, because our skill set can be taught. We can teach people to do Google Ads, but it comes to the fact that I think our model of bringing in grads and training them up will be great, as opposed to trying to go out and get a few people in. I've been told to wrap it up now from Callum, so thank you for listening. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, and feel free to engage with everything I've just said there. I know a lot of that's going to be controversial. I know it's going to raise a lot of questions, so do at us at Bobble Digital, use the hashtags Mr. Bobble, Ask Bobble, and Bobble Pod. Thank you for listening.